Hi, Jess Keys here, and I'm going to do something different today. I'm going to actually read you a story that of a book that I'm reading out of. It's called The Spiritual Archetypes. It's by Christian Kurz, Kurz, if you're interested in it. And I did take the quiz. It's a guide to discovering and illuminating the patterns, psyche, and inspirations of the 22 spiritual paths. You might wonder when I took the quiz what I got. I didn't fit into one area. They always say the percentage that's the highest, that's your, dominant archetype. Well, I didn't get that, and it makes sense to me because I just don't fit in a box. I'm definitely a outside the box kind of person, or no box, as I like to say. My percentages were kind of even all the way down. So I just had to smile. I'm like, of course, God, that's me. But I started to read, and this is kind of a prelogue before the archetypes. There's a story, and it's called The Girl Who Sought God in All Things. So I'm going to read this, and I hope it touches your heart and soul just like it touched mine. Once there was a girl who wanted to find God. She set out on a grand spiritual quest to look for him. She began her journey in hopes of speaking with God. Thereafter, she met a group of people who told her, "We know how to talk to God. He is in our cards, our crystals, and the stars. Listen to these things. Follow this path, and you will find him." And so she did. She learned the ways of the ancient arts and followed the modalities of different teachers and leaders. But the more she learned about these things, the further away she felt from God's voice. She told the group that she could not hear the voice of God, and that perhaps he was not in the cards and stones, but something else. She was shunned by the group for her beliefs and told not to return. She left that path in pursuit of another. Since she could not hear God in the earthly objects, she thought to herself, "Perhaps I will seek his word instead. Maybe this is how I will find him." So she set out on the path to seek his word. She went to churches and temples, met with religious leaders, and told them she wanted to know God's word. "We have God's word. He is in our doctrine. Abide by our doctrine, and you will find him." And so she did. She followed that path, studied various religions, and read all of the doctrines on earth. But the more she studied, the further away from his word she felt. She told the churches and temples that while she had gained knowledge, she did not feel God in her heart. She began asking questions, but the religious leaders did not like her questions because they challenged what they knew. She was shunned by the churches and temples and told not to return. She left that path in pursuit of another. Lonely and outcast, she thought, "Perhaps I will pursue a path to seek his love." So she set out to seek love. On this path, she surrounded herself with friends and people she believed she could trust and love. She loved freely and gave her love to others, but they did not deserve it. They used her love and disposed of it as freely as she gave it. The more she was rejected, the more she wanted to love and be loved. She lowered her standards and gave herself to anyone who would take her just so that she had a glimmer of love in her life. When the glimmer left, she felt broken and empty. She left that path in pursuit of another. Hurt and angry, she thought, "If none of these paths lead to God, then I will be my own God and reign over my own life." So she lived in her desires. It did not take long before that path became painful, empty, and meaningless. Desperate, she decided to try something she had never done before. She fell to her knees and surrendered. In her despair, she prayed, "Please, God, I just need you." At that moment, God appeared to her and said, "My child, why are you so distraught?" In her distress and disbelief, she asked, "Where have you been? I have walked every path looking for you." God smiled sweetly and compassionately and placed a hand on her shoulder. "My child, each path you pursued gave you exactly what they produce after their kind. You pursued my creations like the stars and the stones, but that is not where I dwell. Those are my creations. They are not me. You studied doctrines and gained knowledge and wisdom, But those are only words. My word cannot just be read. It must be felt. You sought love and looked for it in others, but you defiled yourself for scraps of affection from people who treated you in ways I never would. That is conditional love, not my love, which is unconditional. And you attempted to make yourself your own authority and to walk away from your path only to feel powerless. You did all of these things and walked many paths, but there is one path you did not pursue. She thought back on the quest and could not think of any paths she could have missed. When he saw that she did not know the answer, he looked lovingly in her eyes and kindly replied, "You were always focused on the past, but those are man-made roads full of error, confusion, and strife. When you walk those paths, I will still be with you, guiding you, loving you, and leading you in the direction you should go. But they will always be full of hardship and pain, because man makes paths to look for what already exists. To find me, you must seek me in your heart. Then instead of following one path, a path will be made for you." And that just touched my soul, and I hope it touched yours today. Have an amazing day, and thank you for allowing me to share this with you.